Hello and welcome back. You're still watching Wake Up Nigeria and it's time for motivation. Now, every Monday we have a motivation segment to sort of spur you on to have the best week ever. But the truth is, your past weeks that probably might not have been so good, whose responsibility is it to make sure that you move forward in the right way? Now, today's topic is the power of taking responsibility when it comes to personal leadership. And our topic on motivation today is going to be taken with Mr. Bright UK. He is a dynamic professional wearing multiple hats as a speaker, author, digital entrepreneur, psychologist, and coach. And he's going to be driving this conversation on leadership for the month of November. It's great to have you in the studio with us once again.
Thank you, Titi. It's good to be here.
Okay, so it does feel like we have a habit of blaming all sorts of factors on the fact that we are not moving as fast as we wish we were. And our topic is taking responsibility. But there are different aspects to taking responsibility. I'm wondering where you would like to start from.
So I'll start from what you just said about the fact that we have a habit of blaming people, right? If you follow the Christian creation story, the Bible creation story, when Adam and Eve sinned, right, and God confronted them, you know, Adam said, it's the wife that you gave me.
Wow.
Right? And when God turned to Eve, Eve said, it's the serpent. So if disobedience was the first sin, right, irresponsibility or not taking responsibility is the second sin and is even worse than the first. And this is why many problems never get solved and also why many dreams are never realized. Because people are waiting for external factors, all right, to enable their dreams, whereas they can actually take the first step forward, right, and make things happen. And so when we do not own our problems, when we do not, you know, take ownership of our dreams enough to do something, take initiative towards them, we end up, you know, being at the same spot, if not, you know, going backward. All right. So the point I'm making here is we must take ownership. Okay. That's really what responsibility is about. Sure. If it's going to be, it's up to me. All right.
I've heard so many conversations, especially with young people, where they say, "Oh, my father didn't provide this for me. My mother never taught me this. That's why I don't have this." And it's not really a place of blame. It's just them saying this is the situation they find themselves in. But then you also have some success stories where people come from grass to grace. So what is the difference between the two sets of people now?
The difference is responsibility.
Okay.
In reality, the problems you're facing, the challenges you're facing might not have been orchestrated by your own actions or inactions, as it were. It might be even someone else did something wrong. But the question is, would you, because of what someone did or not do, stay where you are and keep blaming? Because by the time you keep blaming anybody, you're not moving. You're not making any progress. All right? So regardless who caused it, you must say, I'll move on. All right? And that's why people who take responsibility, they succeed. At the core of success is responsibility, right? But what I'm saying about people who take responsibility is they usually do not get entangled with a sense of entitlement that now even breeds resentment, right? Instead, they just move on. They just move on, all right? Yeah, that's it. You don't take offense. Okay, I take responsibility. Whatever it is I have to do, I just do and I move on. That's it.
So what are the first steps now? Someone watching right now, listening, has realized, okay, you know what? I've been blaming all my issues on family, on devil, on so many different factors, on the government. I've been blaming the government. What do they do right now? What is the first step?
So the first step is having a mind transformation, right? A shift in your mindset, understanding that regardless of the situation, it might be daunting, right? But I have the power to do something. There are certain things that are beyond my control, right? What TT does is beyond my control. What the government does is beyond my control. How I respond, which is what responsibility is about. How you respond to the situation, not waiting for someone else. Regardless what has been done, let me have that mindset that I have the power to change my situation and I can focus on the things that I can control, even though there are things beyond my control. And that if I focus on the things that I can control, then the things that I cannot control, regardless, will fall into place. Yes.
So I need an example of things people can control and things they cannot control. Yes, you've already mentioned that, yes, you can't control what Titi does.
Yes.
But you can control what you do. But can we have some more practical examples, any actual case studies?
Okay, so you give an example of someone blaming people for, what they did not get. Maybe he did not get an education, right? Maybe your uncle, as it's weird, it's usually an uncle somewhere who is rich that did not send them to school.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, it's true. Your uncle did not send you to school, but look around. There are examples of people who have educated themselves. They had no one to help them, and they went on to do something about their situation.
Okay.
Right? So even if you don't have an uncle, can you take a step at least, all right, to do some work, right, and start getting on the journey? You might not be able to afford everything at the same time, but you can at least take the first step, register for a course, learn something. Right?
Or apprenticeship.
Or even apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yes, apprenticeship works. All right? But at least you started from there. And that's the very interesting thing. Help comes to those who take responsibility. Help does not come to people who look for help or who need help or look for pity parties. Help comes to people who are already taking responsibility to help themselves in certain ways. And people see that, okay, now, all I just need to do is to provide enablers. All right? So external factors will be enablers. But there is nothing to enable if a person is not already on the journey themselves.
Okay.
So that's it. They must take responsibility, must start from somewhere, deal with what is within their power, do something that they can, do what they can do, all right? And then other external factors will come to back them up.
So I want to sort of spin this around now because I feel like taking responsibility for what happens in our nation also has a lot to do with us as a people. Now, the smallest unit of society, they say, is the family.
Oh, yes.
And, it begins at home. It does feel like a lot of things go downhill in our communities because people don't take responsibility. Or am I wrong about that?
Oh, yeah. You're not wrong. Someone said if everyone sweeps the front of their own house, the whole city will be clean. And that's really what it is. A lot of times we blame the government. We talk about corruption. But we must ask ourselves, where exactly are we on the matter? Can we afford to falsify figures and still blame the government? The government is not the one falsifying the figures. If you are right, or if you are righteous, as it were, then do the right thing, right? So the more we take responsibilities, all right, we are also influencing others, don't forget. Leadership is about becoming the best version of yourself so that you can inspire and influence others to become the best version of themselves. Sure. So when you step out, take responsibility and do what is right, you are also inspiring someone else and you are influencing them one way or the other. It might take some time, slowly but surely, it definitely will be.
All right, now I'm thinking of the steps people need to take at this point to take responsibility for what's happening in their space. You've mentioned, of course, understanding the space you're in. You also mentioned not blaming other factors for your situation and actually getting up and going out there. So hopefully someone out there is about to take those steps themselves to take responsibility. Now, we're working on a leadership series for the month, but what direction are we going in with this leadership series?
Oh, yeah. Again, like I mentioned earlier, leadership is about becoming, right? And that's self-empowerment, taking responsibility so that you can inspire and influence others. Okay. So we go from personal leadership, which is what we're already talking about, to how we can lead effectively and productively, all right, others beyond ourselves. So again, that's the direction of the conversation.
All right, then. I can't wait to hear the questions and suggestions from you at home. Of course, our hashtag is available for you to use. Use it as soon as you can. That's Wake Up Nigeria on TVC. And tag us, Wake Up Nigeria, TVCE, with your thoughts. We will be having Mr. Bright UK with us for the month of November every single Monday, and he will be here to answer your questions. I know you're looking forward to it as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
I am.
I know you probably had some questions from your fans, your followers online.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the most interesting aspects of leadership questions that you've been receiving?
Okay, so it's usually, sometimes I get this question about people who are just stepping into leadership, all right, or they're just being given positions and they want to know, is leadership about position or, is it inborn? is it natural because I don't consider myself
A
a
leader.
leader? All right. And I often like to tell people that it's not so much about the position, right? It's about the person, and everyone is actually born a leader. It's just that we all have that potential within us. But the extent to which we cultivate that potential, right, in terms of the excellence of our leadership is based on the responsibility, on our ability to take responsibility, right, towards growing our leadership intentionally. Yes. So people, of course, are born with leadership potential, but they have to be trained to become excellent in leadership.
But where do you stand on the issue of this generation we call Gen Z? And how much responsibility are we millennials to in quote, blame? How much responsibility do we have to take for how they are responding to the job market, so to speak?
I think the millennials and Gen Zs, as it were, my perspective is that they are an evolved, right, kind of species that we need to understand.
Okay.
Right? And the main problem I also see, or one major problem I see, is that old dogs need to learn new tricks.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Old dogs need to learn new tricks because whether we like it or not, they are the future. You know, it's the truth. The Gen Zs are the future, all right? Other generations are the past, right? So whether we like it or not, other generations will fade and they will stay until it gets to their own time as well, and, you know, they will also fade away.
Sure.
So we need to understand the future. And that's why I said they are evolved. And we need to understand the future rather than criticizing, blaming, and complaining about it.
All right. So understanding and taking responsibility.
Understanding them, yeah.
For doing that. Bright UK, you know it's always a pleasure talking to you on the show. And we will be doing this a lot more often. Make sure you make it a date with us. We have a quick break coming your way at this point. Stay with us.